An April without racing is rare in modern Formula One, and for Ferrari, it arrives at a revealing moment, because the first 3 rounds have exposed a very specific profile for the SF26, one of the best cars on the grid through the corners, but increasingly vulnerable on the straights to the Mercedes-powered machines. From Bahrain to Japan, the pattern has been consistent in the data. Ferrari's chassis and aero platform are fundamentally strong, giving Leclerc and Hamilton confidence in medium and high-speed sections. Yet the stopwatch tells a harsher truth on the straights, where an estimated 20 brake horsepower deficit to the Mercedes power unit limits their ability to convert cornering strength into race-winning pace. What makes this interesting is that Ferrari, by many measures, has produced a car capable of fighting at the front. But McLaren's rise, showcased clearly in Japan, once their own reliability issues disappeared, has turned the fight for second force into a genuine threat. McLaren's combination of an increasingly efficient chassis with the strongest engine on the grid means that even a baseline Ferrari podium is no longer guaranteed. That matters because at this level, 20 brake horsepower isn't just a number on a dyno sheet. It determines whether you can defend into a braking zone or whether you're a sitting duck in DRS, and that can easily be worth several tenths per lap at power-sensitive circuits. This is where the politics around the additional development and upgrade opportunities system, ADUO, become crucial. A DUO is F1's mechanism to prevent runaway gaps in power unit performance by ranking the 4 manufacturers and allowing the weaker ones some controlled extra development. Ferrari believes that the current numbers, with Mercedes clearly ahead, put them in a strong position to qualify for this additional window, and the F1 Commission meeting on April 9th will be key. Not only will it debate regulatory tweaks, but it will also firm up the deadline for locking in that power unit ranking. Originally, Miami was the reference event. With the cancellations of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, there's a push from some sides to extend the data-gathering period to Monaco. In Maranello, though, the preference is to keep Miami as the cutoff, because the earlier the ranking is frozen, the more likely it is that the present performance hierarchy, with a clear Mercedes advantage, is captured in the official numbers, and Ferrari secures the right to pursue extra development on the engine. In parallel with these boardroom battles, Ferrari is using the unexpected break to accelerate on-track development. April 22nd will see their first filming day of the year at Monza, with Hamilton and Leclerc sharing the 200 kilometers of permitted running. On paper, it's a promotional event on demo tires. In reality, Monza is the ideal laboratory for Ferrari's current weaknesses. Long, full-throttle sections, enormous demands on hybrid deployment and recovery, and high-speed braking all stress-test straight-line efficiency and energy management. The choice of Monza was made right after Australia, and other teams are reportedly considering using one of their own filming days there for exactly the same reason. But for Ferrari, it carries extra weight because their original development plan has been completely reshaped by the calendar chaos. Under the guidance of Loic Serra, the intention for 2024 was to avoid big, risky macro packages, and instead layer in smaller updates race by race, starting with Bahrain and Jeddah. A revised floor here, a small aero tweak there. Weight savings gradually fed in, all carefully correlated to keep the SF26's very good base characteristics intact. The loss of those 2 race weekends blew that strategy apart. Instead of a carefully staged rollout, Ferrari is now compressing what was meant to be a stepped upgrade path into a more concentrated package that needs to be ready for Miami, with Monza acting as a critical shakedown. The core of that package is a revised floor, originally targeted at Bahrain, designed to squeeze more aerodynamic load out of the underbody without adding drag. In a ground effect era, the floor is where you make or break your car. More efficient underbody downforce not only makes the car faster in the corners, it gives you the option to run a slightly skinnier rear wing for the same grip level, effectively clawing back some top speed without touching the power unit. Alongside that floor, Ferrari will bolt on secondary aerodynamic refinements and some weight reduction pieces. Shaving even a few kilos in this field improves braking, tire usage, and launch off slow corners. For Miami specifically, there are also cooling updates in the pipeline, vital for a hot stop-start street circuit where engine and battery temperatures can cap performance if not managed properly. Another detail returning in Miami will be the pair of small winglets on the halo, seen briefly in China before being withdrawn over a legality detail. The material used must match that of the halo structure. Once corrected, these fins help condition airflow around the cockpit and towards the rear of the car, again in search of incremental efficiency. But perhaps the most eye-catching piece of this puzzle is the so-called Macarena rear wing. Named for the way it seems to pivot or dance under DRS, this concept is all about maximizing the gain from active aero. When the driver hits DRS, the wing elements rotate to dramatically shed drag while maintaining a controlled wake and some residual stability, rather than just collapsing the rear downforce entirely. Estimates suggest this wing could be worth up to 0.3 per lap at circuits that reward low drag, a huge number at this level. Ferrari tested an earlier iteration in China practice, but team principal Frédéric Vasseur was clear that the team needed more mileage before trusting it over a race distance for both performance and structural reasons. The updated version, effectively Macarena V2, was initially scheduled for a more conservative debut around Montreal. Now there is intense pressure in Maranello to have it ready earlier, ideally aligned with the broader Miami package. Monza's filming day is invaluable here. Even within the constraints of limited distance and controlled tires, Ferrari can observe real-world behavior at high speed. How the wing flexes, how the mountings behave, what happens when DRS opens and closes repeatedly at 330 kilometers per hour. If that data looks clean, the Macarena could shift from experimental curiosity to a central weapon in Ferrari's 2024 arsenal much sooner than planned. Running alongside all this, starting April 9th, is another program at Fiorano, Pirelli's test of 2027 wet tires, including a new super intermediate tread. It's easy to dismiss that as future-focused tire work, but it still gives Ferrari something valuable in the present. More mileage, more understanding of how the SF26 behaves on low-grip surfaces, and more time for Hamilton and Leclerc to refine their communication with the engineers about balance changes and grip evolution, which ultimately feeds back into setup philosophy. So what does it all add up to heading into Miami and the rest of the season? Right now, Ferrari has a car that on pure cornering performance is capable of winning races, but its ceiling is being lowered by a power unit deficit and the rapid development of a direct rival in McLaren. The team's response operates on two intertwined fronts. Technically, with a compressed upgrade package centered on a new floor, efficiency tweaks, weight reduction, cooling improvements, and a potentially game-changing rear wing. Politically, with a push to lock in the ADUO performance ranking early enough that their current disadvantage versus Mercedes is formally recognized, unlocking the only realistic route to significant engine gains under the present rules. The real question is whether sharpening an already strong chassis and aero concept is enough to offset that horsepower gap if McLaren keeps developing at its current rate, or whether securing extra power unit development becomes absolutely non-negotiable if Ferrari wants to do more this year than collect occasional wins and best-of-the-rest finishes behind Mercedes. At the same time, if the Miami package lands as intended, if the floor delivers, if the cooling holds up, if the Macarena wing proves both fast and reliable, Ferrari could flip the dynamic and reclaim clear second-best status, with a realistic shot at pressuring Mercedes on the right circuits. So, where do you think this battle will be decided? In the wind tunnel and on the high-speed sweeps of Monza? Or in the meeting rooms where ADUO is defined? Should the power unit ranking be frozen at Miami, as Ferrari prefers? or extended to Monaco for more data? And if you were in charge at Maranello, would you bet harder on aerodynamic efficiency and drag reduction to mask the deficit, or push all your political capital into securing that extra engine development window? Let me know how you see it, because the way Ferrari answers those very questions in the next few weeks could define not just their fight with McLaren, but the shape of their entire 2024 campaign.